session. You see all those officers leaving the area. Cody told us as well that some of those officers place their hands over their heart, or maybe they're saluting because many of them, just like myself, they're veterans and they serve their country. Now they're serving their community. And so they're showing respect for those officers, even if they didn't know them, as part of their family. And that's what they're doing to show their respect.
And so many others from across the nation are showing their respect and offering their condolences tonight as well. This tweet from the New York City Police Commissioner saying, tonight, we pray for our law enforcement partners at the Cobb County Sheriff's Office and the communities they serve in Georgia. The tragic loss of their deputies is a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers faced by law enforcement across the country. Hashtag never forget. Our Cody Alcord has been live on this scene for several hours. We want to go back to him now. Cody, any new information, anything new that you can tell us about this developing story?
I just want to give you some perspective on how far-reaching this is. So I just recently came to 11 Alive from the upstate of South Carolina. I just had a state trooper from South Carolina Highway Patrol reach out to me. I've had a couple people from the Greenville County Sheriff's Office reach out to me. So you can already tell the magnitude of what has taken place here in Cobb County. We're talking 2 hours away, law enforcement officers who are working tonight in other states reacting to this. I know there are some inklings of who the suspect is. We've heard from neighbors who this person is. We're not going to go on the record with that because, again, right now, the concern is getting this guy into cuffs safely. What we do understand, and I just spoke with the person who tipped me off, who lives just a house or two down from the home where the suspect is barricaded inside. What I'm told, there was no SWAT presence before these shots rang out. Now, if you've covered these long enough, if you've been a part of this, you know that means likely this was not a high-risk offender, meaning this wasn't a murder suspect. This wasn't someone with aggravated assault or someone they thought was a threat to these officers. Now, I could be wrong, but again, that's typically what we see in these situations when you don't see a SWAT team with officers serving a warrant. They usually have a warrant service within their department, and they'll send a couple officers out. Of course, they don't walk up not prepared. They'll be armed. They have their vest on, and they're going to try to take this suspect into custody, let this person serve their time, and mark this warrant as served. But something happened here tonight, because this neighbor tells me it was not until after that one deputy was shot and killed at this home, the other one hit, pulled to safety and being worked on, that she saw the first SWAT truck come into this neighborhood here at Hampton Glen on Fenwick Drive. So as we piece this together with little information we have, that kind of paints the picture that, you know, this is not going to be a high-level offender that required a SWAT team at first. But again, it's not to take away anything from these officers who are out here. They serve warrants every day like this. Just a few officers who show up, they do their job, they take these people to the jail, they book them, and they go on to the next warrant. So that's what we're being able to piece together as we talk to witnesses, because, again, these deputies, this sheriff we saw, their first priority is not coming to talk to us. If something major was happening, they would come out here and let us know, to let the community know. But right now, this is a contained scene. They have this suspect surrounded. This neighborhood, Hampton Glen, they are on lockdown. Many neighbors can't even get to their homes. GSP helicopter circling above in case somehow this person gets out and tries to run. But I assure you, with 3 SWAT vehicles and over 150 officers, multiple jurisdictions, that home is surrounded and no one's coming out. What they're trying to do is to get this guy out safely without anybody being harmed, including that suspect. But again, from the pictures we've seen, from the description we've gotten, this home is a large house. So he probably has the ability to go from second floor, the attic, to a first floor, to the garage, to the attic above the garage. There's a lot of scenarios that are playing out here. And these deputies, these SWAT teams are being methodical. They train for this. They know what they're doing. But again, when you have someone that's got the mindset to shoot at law enforcement, much less kill 2 deputies, this person has nothing left to lose, Ron and Jennifer. And that's the scary thing here tonight, is what could happen over the next few hours. But I almost bet they will take their time, and this thing could drag on into the early morning hours, because here we are at 10:40, and we know this thing, when we got tipped off, was around the 7:30 hour this evening.
Yeah, that's right. And tactically speaking, Cody, I mean, you brought up a very important point. Tactically speaking, I mean, you would think, well, the officers can just kick in the door and maybe go in there and find the suspect, but you don't know what they may know, the intelligence, the intel they may know. in making that decision. They may not want to just rush through the front door and go find this person who may have or who did shoot at these deputies. They could be concerned if there's other victims in the home. I mean, they haven't released that information. We don't know if there's more than one person in the home at this point. So they're going to try to wait it out, maybe negotiate with this person. And you said that they're already using the PA system to try to coax this person out. And so it is a waiting game. They don't have to rush in. They can take their time and methodically try to use every resource that they have to get for this guy or this person to eventually give up.
Yeah, it is a very fluid situation. And sorry, Jennifer, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say this is a fluid situation, just like you were saying, Cody, because there are still questions that we don't have answers to right now, especially what was this warrant being served for? Yeah. How did this breakdown happen that led to these officers or these deputies being killed in the line of duty? We still have a lot of information that is outstanding. And Cody, you mentioned not too long ago that speaking to us to relay this information to our viewers, that's not the top priority of the law enforcement community right now. Cody, you did mention as well that the sheriff has recently arrived out there on the scene, likely spending time with the families of these officers prior to either returning or coming back out to that scene. And so that's just another layer of all of this, dealing with this unfolding scene out here and also balancing the care that's needed for these families who won't have a loved one returning home this evening.
Absolutely. And we've talked about this before, that this is a subculture. This is a culture that's outside of the regular citizens, you know, if you use police speak. So this is a subculture of law enforcement family. They understand that every day is a risky day. Every day that they could possibly lose their life. Every day they may not see their loved ones again, their husband, their wife, their partner, their children. They know that that is the risk that they're going to take to try to keep strangers, to try to keep their communities safe. But it's still difficult when it does happen, when they lose one of their brothers or sisters in law enforcement, because it touches everyone. And Cody talked about, and you actually read from New York, from the state of New York, that talked about how they're giving their condolences as well. And you've read some condolences, but I guarantee you're going to have law enforcement from across the country who are coming to Georgia to pay their respect, to show their support for their law enforcement brothers and sisters. I wouldn't be surprised if they came as far as LA or Idaho, whatever, just to make sure they know that they're cared for and that they support them and they love them as they navigate through this tragedy.
Let's get back out to the scene now with our Hope Ford. She has been speaking with witnesses and people in that community. Hope, what can you tell us at this hour?
Right now, as you were just talking about, those condolences coming from all over the place. The chief for the Atlanta Public Schools Police Department, he just said that he is keeping the families and co-workers of the deputies killed in the line of duty tonight in their thoughts and prayers. So there's a lot of condolences that are coming out to the Cobb County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff's Department right now. And right now, everything around here is kind of a little bit at a standstill. Everyone out here on this side are, really just trying to stay focused right now to make sure that that everyone over there can focus on their jobs right now. But I have been speaking to some witnesses. I spoke to one person who says that the house where this is all taking place is only 500 yards away from where he is right now. Let's take a listen.
When I was going up the stairs of our basement into our kitchen, I heard, it sounds like fireworks. And then I saw about 3 or 4 cop cars come. And then I just heard more of them coming. And then there was probably, I would say, at least a dozen cop cars just on the street, on the main street of our neighborhood.
And you heard that neighbor talking about what he thought was, those fireworks. And then whenever he saw those law enforcement vehicles start to pull up, that's when he realized they were gunshots. He did tell me later on that it did, of course, sound like it was rapid fire. It was all kind of a blur is what he said. And he said that, people in that community, they were posting on their social media pages trying to tell everybody, hey, stay in your house, lock the doors, turn off the lights, which is what they're doing right now. So he says that they've been in the same situation, kind of waiting for more information, kind of waiting for all of this to end, as everyone out here is waiting for that right now. Called it a peaceful neighborhood, said they don't have a lot of crime right now, so there are a lot of rattled nerves right here in this neighborhood. Ron and Jennifer.
Hope, yeah, I know you mentioned folks being scared earlier, and rightfully so, especially if you aren't familiar with these situations. And we already see if this is a situation where law enforcement officers have been killed, it's like who knows what could happen next. Yeah. So a lot of fear tonight in that community as these law enforcement officers work to address this still very active unfolding situation in the Marietta community. We know the SWAT teams are out there. That witness telling our reporter Cody Alcorn on the ground that there were at least 3 SWAT teams responding. Let's get back to Cody now. Cody, what are you hearing? What can you tell us? I know you mentioned also that you're hearing that helicopter up above.
Yes, that is the Georgia State Patrol chopper above, just keeping an eye on the scene down here in case anything develops. I just talked with...
All right, looks like we're having some technical difficulties. You have to keep in mind here, folks, that when we're going live, especially since we've been live for the past, 2 to 3 hours, trying to keep you updated on what's taking place, is sometimes batteries go out. So we're going to get back to Cody as soon as we can. But basically, what's so difficult about this entire situation is the waiting game. And Cody has talked about the waiting game. You have this individual possibly still inside this house. We don't know if it's just one or maybe multiple people, but now we're hearing it's just one. And those officers have to be emotionally sound and not get emotionally charged in this situation, and try to focus on methodically trying to get this guy out of the house, to surrender, to give up. And as Hope has also pointed out, a lot of the neighbors are rattled as well. I think Cody has figured out the technological situation, and he has more. Cody?
Yeah, Ron, Jennifer, sorry about that. My microphone went out just for a moment.
Yeah.
But what I was saying was the Georgia State Patrol does have their chopper up. It's monitoring from the air. And I was saying, I did talk with this neighbor who says it is ongoing. They are still trying to talk the suspect out to end this peacefully without having to breach the home. Because you can imagine if they have to go in, there are going to be a lot of shots fired. And then you're talking about possibly somebody hit with friendly fire, the suspect being hit, firing back. We've already lost 2 deputies here tonight. They do not want any more loss of life regarding anyone involved in this. It is still very fluid. This area is still closed down at Irwin Road, Fenwick Drive, lined with law enforcement officers. There's also a scene at the nearby hospital at the morgue. That's where they took the 1 deputy that we saw leaving this scene. And then, of course, that 2nd deputy will be taken there. We saw the sheriff walk up a moment ago. I'm sure he was out here previously, but was consoling with the families who he had to break the news to. And of course, just offer condolences, but he had to come back out here. And that is what is really hard for a lot of these men and women that, yes, they have lost 2 brothers in blue or sisters. We do not know the details yet, but they have to come back out here and continue their job. We have not gotten any information on the record about these 2 deputies. Obviously, we're respecting the privacy for those families as they're still notifying other family members. And obviously, we're respecting the officers who are out here. Right now, the main focus is making sure everyone who is on scene now goes home safely to their families, because for these 2 deputies, they are not getting that courtesy tonight, all due to one man's senseless act tonight to open fire. And the question is really going to be what happened on this property on Fenwick Drive, because again, this was one of those situations, and it's why so often you never call anything routine. If you're ever around a deputy, an officer, a sheriff, a chief, they'll always say there's no such thing as a routine stop. There's no such thing as a routine call, because what we saw here today proves that theory. This was a warrant call. They do it every day, but it's not routine because 2 officers were shot and died on this call. And that is one thing we always point out is, nothing's routine in this line of work.
Yeah, that's right. I remember as a young officer, I've made multiple car stops. I've been in several car chases. I've served several warrants or multiple warrants before. But you always go back, Cody and Jennifer, to the training that you had in the academy, the training that you did every single year to make sure you're updated on the tactics and what you're going to do on the street, so that it becomes part of your muscle memory. But then there are situations such as this one where it just doesn't turn out right, you know? And obviously, this is what happened here, that regardless of the amount of training, regardless of the amount of repetition, things can go bad.
That certainly is the case, unfortunately. And we are still waiting for additional information from the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. All we have so far is that 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies were killed in the line of duty while serving a warrant, and that the SWAT and FAST teams are responding. We know that there is a suspect barricaded in this situation, and that's pretty much the extent of what we have been told. We also know that they are saying that this does remain an active incident, and they are continuing to work it. This map kind of gives you a better idea of where this is taking place. Cody and our Hope Ford out there on the scene near Fenwick Drive near Irwin. And so this is still a very fluid situation with those officers dealing with this standoff, and with so many law enforcement agencies from across the state coming in to lend their support and give that extra support at this time as they are dealing with their emotions, with these condolences, and with this standoff situation, on top of needing to respond to other incidents that may be taking place across this community, across this jurisdiction. Again, we are waiting for additional information to come from our crews that are in the field, from law enforcement, to give us anything updated. Cody telling us not too long ago that the sheriff had responded or had returned to that scene. We believe he may have been there earlier. We believe he may have been potentially offering condolences and comfort to the families who have lost loved ones. And so we are waiting to get that new information. And of course, we'll continue to bring you those updates as we get them. Meanwhile, we have been talking about what we've been hearing from witnesses, from our reporters on the ground as well, Ron.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of witnesses saying that they were terrified when they heard the gunshots, wondering what was going on. But something else that we should point out, because you mentioned the fact that it's a very emotional situation. Once the dust is already settled, they still know where the suspect is. Then they have to start to deal with the grieving process. And they began that tonight. We witnessed that tonight live on the WATL on 11 Alive Plus. And that's when they loaded up the body of one of those officers that was killed in front of that home, put them inside the ambulance, and then a procession left where that officer was killed. And we have that video. Let's listen in and watch. As you can see, a lot of emotion there. Some of the officers having their hands over their hearts, some of them saluting as well. And we pointed this out before, if you're just joining us, that many of them were in, not just in law enforcement, but possibly in the military, showing their respects for their brothers and sisters in blue.
And we've talked a lot about that respect and those condolences that are pouring in from not just across the state of Georgia, but across the country as well. Here's a message from the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, them sending this out on Twitter, saying our condolences go out to the Cobb County Sheriff Craig Owens and the Cobb County Sheriff's Office after the loss of 2 deputies tonight in the line of duty. Another message coming in from the city of South Fulton's police department saying thoughts and prayers are with our law enforcement family at the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. Pray for the families and community during this difficult time. We're also hearing from the Paulding County Sheriff's Office. They're saying we are heartbroken to hear about the line of duty deaths of 2 Cobb County Sheriff's Office deputies. We pray for their families as well as the men and women of the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. That message posted on Facebook this evening. So we are seeing countless messages like this one coming in. We mentioned from across the country as well. This from the New York City Police Commissioner saying tonight we pray for our law enforcement partners at the Cobb County Sheriff's Office and the communities they serve in Georgia. The tragic loss of their deputies is a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers faced by law enforcement across the country. So these messages are just a sampling of what is out there online. We can't show them all because there are so many that have been coming in this evening as this situation has continued to unfold.
You know, Jennifer, one thing that we haven't shown our viewers out there, but we can see it on other monitors that are here within the studio, I can watch and see some of these officers who are walking around the crime scene, and we're not showing it just to show respect for them. And you can tell that they're grieving. You can tell that they're really saddened by what has happened, rightfully so, obviously so. But it really hits home for them that they're going through what they're going through right now. And I'm sure many of them are consoling each other, speaking with each other, trying to let them know that they're going to get through this together. Cody Alcorn, who's been on this story from the very beginning, you broke this, I would say, right after 7 o'clock when you got that call from one of your contacts out there. What are you seeing now, Cody?
Ron, I think this is the sheriff walking up this direction, I believe. And I'm just going to see if we can confirm if this is over or not. Give me 1 second here. If it's resolved yet? No, sir. Okay, so we can confirm this is not resolved yet. So this is an ongoing situation. So no resolve here on Fenwick Drive as far as the standoff with this suspect who tonight has killed 2 Cobb County deputies on Fenwick Drive somewhere around the 7 o'clock hour. To reset, if you're just joining us, I know Ron and Jennifer have been talking about this, but they were serving a warrant here at a home on Fenwick Drive when obviously something went south and this suspect opened fire, hitting both of these deputies, which also makes you wonder what kind of weapon does this guy have, because one of those deputies died there on the property. The second one was pulled out to a neighbor's house. That's where they were working on this deputy for quite some time, because I got the tip at 7:55 is when I got this text. I was on the road almost to Marietta when the same person said they just loaded this deputy in and they are hauling out of the neighborhood, being escorted to the trauma center. So obviously this suspect had a good line of sight and was able to hit these deputies. And it really does make you wonder what happened. Was this an ambush type thing? Did this guy have any idea they were going to show up? That's what we want, a few answers to, and we'll get those in the coming days. Because again, right now, for the sheriff and for these men and women, their main focus first is to get this suspect into custody, and then of course these families and what's going to come in the days, weeks, and months to come. Now there are more law enforcement heading our way in this roundabout. I'm not for sure if they're coming from a different end of Fenwick Drive, but you can see they are leaving, which does not mean anything as far as a resolution here. There's a lot of things happening. A lot of these deputies will be going to help with other families of these deputies as well who were killed here in this shooting tonight. There's a lot of different aspects of the investigation ongoing now. So the other thing, Ron and Jennifer, we haven't mentioned this, and I do want to hit on this. While there's probably 150 plus officers here, there's a lot of other calls happening tonight in Cobb County that have to be answered. And that's another thing. I would not be surprised if other agencies have signed up to assist to answer some of those calls tonight, because you can see now another deputy's car pulling in. So that's the other thing we should look at is, they still have to answer calls tonight in emergencies throughout Cobb County while dealing with this as well.
That's right. Me and Jennifer were talking about that. I remember as a young officer, and when we had someone go down, then you have other agencies that would come within our city, and they would still answer those calls of service, whether it was a theft or a burglary or whatever, because the citizens still have to be serviced.
That's right. And Cody, we see some people in the background of that shot there. Are these people that live in that community? Do you have any idea? Or are these people maybe just walking over from that staging area, since this community is still kind of blocked off there for people? Do you have somebody
Jennifer,
there to
Ron,
speak
real
with you?
fast, I want to bring in, I do. So this young man just walked by me. You tell me you actually landscape for this suspect.
Yes.
What I don't want to identify anybody here, so don't use any names, but you just walked up from here. So what can you tell us about this neighborhood and this home where this is happening?
I mean, it's just a really shocking thing, because it's a really calm neighborhood. It's, you don't imagine these type of things in these neighborhoods. I actually do cut their house. They seem like really nice people, but I mean, you don't imagine these type of things just coming out here. It's just like a sad thing what's going on, that you killed 2 cops. I mean, you're sitting here and just thinking about, they just killed 2 cops. I won't lie to you. I was in that neighborhood cutting a house earlier. Luckily, it's now we're nowhere near in that neighborhood. It's right close to the exit. But I mean, again, I was in that neighborhood, and you can't just imagine. I thank God I was out that neighborhood, before everything happened. So,
And thankfully, you weren't there when this happened. Did you hear the gunshots? How did you find out what was going on Fenwick Drive?
actually, I was heading to get dinner with my girlfriend. I just see a bunch of cops, bam, bam, whole bunch of cops. And I noticed one almost flipped over because I was like, man, this has to be like a really big thing. So I'm over here not thinking anything of it. Hopefully, there's nothing near me. Sadly, it had to be something that's right behind us. I mean, I hate to. I send out my condolences to that family, that the two families that lost their loved ones. It's just can't. I don't have any words for it.
And again, I don't want to name any names because, again, we do not know this person and we have to confirm all of that. But what can you tell us? Is this a family that lives there? Is it a single person, married?
Again, I won't say any names. It's a mom with two kids. Well, not kids; they're grown up. They're in their early late 20s. But I mean, again, they seemed really nice. I cut their house. I'm always talking to them. Hey, what's up? They always. I got to the house. They always came out with water bottles. Gave me water bottles. That's about it. And I went about my day. We had some small little talks, and that's it. They never seemed like they were these type of people.
And have you heard, is anybody in the house with this person?
No, I have not heard anything. I have not.
Well, we're glad you're safe. We're glad you're at home tonight. Be safe.
Thank you. You as well. Good night.
And again, you just heard there, as I step out, I'm going to let you see the scene there. That was the landscaper who's in the neighborhood as well. So that's mine. Yeah. Thank you, guys. So again, you can see a lot of people just trying to figure out what's going on as well. And for that young man, what a tragic event to be cutting lawn and then all of a sudden be surrounded with law enforcement like this. And again, so we don't know much about this, but you heard him say it's a mother with two grown kids. So if you you look at this, it could be one of those individuals because we were told it was a man. So I want to go back to you guys right now.
All right, Cody, thanks a lot for that update, and thanks a lot for being able to speak with that neighbor to give us a better perspective of what actually took place.
Again, we do have limited information this evening, but what we do know from the Cobb County Sheriff's Office is that 2 Cobb County Sheriff's deputies have been killed in the line of duty serving a warrant. The SWAT and FAST teams are on the scene of what's still an active situation. A standoff with the suspect here. We'll, of course, continue to follow this for you throughout the evening and on 11alive.com and on 11 Alive News at 11. We thank you so much for joining us. Remember, you can always get the latest information on 11 Alive Plus and inside our 11 Alive News app.
So he's saying he wants them to kill him. He's not going to jail. Yeah, apparently. They probably itching to fill him up with lead, whoever he is, and trying to find out some more information about whoever it is. They got him cornered. What do y'all think his race is? Excuse me. So they're saying here on Fox 5. Let me get a more recent. Let's see, this was 46 minutes ago. So they're not giving any information on the suspect. They're just basically saying what happened and what's going on now. 2 deputies with the Cobb County Sheriff's Office have died after being shot. The Cobb County Sheriff's Office says the deputies were serving a warrant on Thursday night. Tonight, they were shot. They say the suspect is still barricaded inside the home. So yeah, right now, Channel 2 Action News crews are outside of the neighborhood off of Irwin Road, and they are at Wellstar Kennestone Hospital working to learn more information. I believe the deputies were taking them
On the ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11 Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
So where was I? So yeah, Channel 2 Action News crews are outside of the neighborhood off of Irwin Road and at Wellstar Kennestone Hospital working to learn more information. Crews at Webster Kennestone Hospital report seeing dozens of Cobb County Sheriff's deputies and police officers. Witnesses tell Channel 2 they heard several shots and the neighborhood is filled with law enforcement officers. The suspect has not been identified and it's unclear what charges he was wanted on. The deputies who were killed have not been identified, but I do believe I heard them say their names on that live stream. Definitely. And I was going to do a live about the boy, Ezekiel Kelly, who went wild last night in Memphis. Hold on. And you know, I have footage. I had to put it on Twitter, of all places, but I had some footage of the boy Ezekiel Kelly when he went live on this little killing spree yesterday in Memphis. And I threw it up on my other channel, Streets Gotta Eat. And I even edited out the part, you know, where there was one piece of footage where he actually went to the auto zone and he shot a man, like, you know, maybe 20 feet away. He went through the door. Man was coming out of the aisle, just minding his business, and he just shot him like 5. I don't know. It sounded like 3 or 4 shots, maybe 2 shots, but you know, he rang off. It was wild. And they say the young boy Ezekiel Kelly, before he actually went on the shooting spree, they say that he shot, I guess, one of his friends, somebody that he knew, an acquaintance, an associate, because they charged him with that murder, I guess, on top of the murders that he committed on the people that he didn't know. And the people who actually identified him as the shooter in that incident were friends of both parties. So, you know, maybe it was a dispute and he shot a friend of his, or again, somebody he knew. And a couple hours later, that's when he went on a rampage and just started shooting random people. On the footage that I have, you know, he was riding around in the car talking about he was going to get justice in the streets. He was going to head to another area and shoot it out, you know, with them peoples. He was talking about shooting it out with them peoples. That was on one clip. You know, he got the gun, he cocking it while he's driving on Facebook Live or whatever. And then on the other clip, like I said, he run into the auto zone and just shoots a random white guy, like, pow, knocks him down. I don't know if the man lived. I think he killed maybe 3 or 4. I know 7 was shot altogether. I'm like, if he out here shooting them white people, you already know they getting him off the street ASAP. Yeah, but I put the video up on my other channel, Streets Gotta Eat, just trying to keep it away from this channel and see what happens, because I had a I had a sneaky suspicion that they might not like that video, even though there was a live stream from CNN. I don't know what CNN it was, but it was a CNN live stream, and they were showing the same footage, and I even blurred the footage out. I blurred the footage out where he showed the gun. I blurred the footage out when he went into the auto zone and shot the man. All you heard was the gunshot. I edited out all of the cursing. He was cursing up a storm. I edited all that out, and they still snatched the video down. They didn't even give it an age restriction. But I'm like, I've seen so many videos on YouTube where people get shot. There's a whole channel, like I said, police activity. All they post is videos of police shooting people or getting shot, but mostly police shooting people. And I just felt like YouTube might have been being a little biased. Just my sneaky suspicion. But yeah, Ezekiel Kelly. And I can't show the footage. It's actually on if you go to my Twitter page, my Street Gotta Eat Twitter page, you can find it over there. But I cannot show it. I will not show it on YouTube, even though I would like to. I really would. I really want to try them. I'm against the grain. I try to go with the rules. Sounds like a hate crime. I don't know. I don't know if it was a strictly race thing. Like I say, I know for sure one of the persons that he shot, one of the random people that he shot was a white man. And he was talking about getting justice in the streets. I don't know what he meant by that. And I do know, again, he did shoot an acquaintance or an associate or somebody that he was known to and that was known to him. But why do you think it sounds like a hate crime, Mikey One? And what is the Donovan Lewis situation? I have to Google that. What's the Donovan Lewis situation? What's your name? Intrinsic One. And thanks to everybody for tapping in. I missed my earlier appointment, and I was really a little, feeling a little ways because YouTube kept snatching my video down. I put it up on another one of my backup channels, and they snatched it down off of there too. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is at this point. But it just seems like when it's Black Death being shown, they don't mind showing it. I thought maybe they might put an age restriction on it, but I've seen so many videos on YouTube where people are getting shot on Facebook Live, getting shot by other people, shooting themselves. And, the most they get is an age restriction. But again, a lot of times the people that it's happening to are Black. So, I look at this like I look at the real world. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm not sure about the Donovan Lewis situation. I used to live in Columbus, Intrinsic One. I lived there for about a year before I moved south. I also lived in Dayton. Yeah, I stayed out off of Bryce Road out in Columbus back in 1992, 93. Yeah, and it seems like everybody's carrying guns these days. Like, it's like cigarettes. Smoke them if you got them. Everybody wanted to be known. that they packing, and you know they carrying them on their hip while they in Kroger. And you don't know who's who. You don't know who got good sense and who don't. So I don't care if it's legal or not. If I'm in sharing a space with somebody and they got a firearm, I'm keeping my distance. I don't want no mishaps, accidents. I don't want no situations. You know, everybody want to walk around like it's the Wild Wild West. Need me a more comfortable chair, man. Ooh. I need one of those gamer chairs where I can just lounge back. So what do you say? 6% of young black males commit over 50% of homicides. Imagine if the white man was doing that, CNN would have a field day. If the white man is fucking up, CNN ain't showing it. So that's it. And whatever young black males do wrong, they blast it all over the news. All out of proportion. We know what it is. We're not going to talk about the media and the narratives that they like to push on black people. Because we had the son of the leader of the free world with a laptop full of smut, allegedly, not even allegedly, but this laptop, the contents were made public prior to the 2020 elections. And we had corporate media squashing the story in collusion, in my opinion, with the FBI to sit on the information. So, let's keep it in perspective. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to go after the low-hanging fruit. And we can call it what it is. A spade is a spade. I'm not condoning, this type of activity on any level. But we're not going to punch down. We're not going to punch down. We're going to punch up. We're going to punch above our weight. That's what I do. I'm not going to punch down and beat up on Pookie and Ray Ray. Yeah. A lot of them out here fucking up. And like I said, I can call it what it is. But we're not going to punch down. So, yeah, I get it. I get it. But I'm not going to go along with the narrative. And the same guy, the leader of the so-called leader of the free world, who's been in elected office for over 40 years, going on 50 years. A lot of that time's been spent in the United States Senate, where he has passed law after law after law to punch down on the black community, black males in particular. Super predators. And you guys can look on my channel, check my channel out. There's several videos where I talk about Joe Biden's legislative record, passing law after law, beginning in the 80s, drug laws designed to lock as many young black men as possible up, get them off the streets, while his partner in crime, who he was who he sat under while he was in the Senate, during Bill Clinton's tenure is when he really took it to the max with the 1994 Omnibus Crime Bill. I did a video on that. It's on my channel. Check it out. That's why I just couldn't understand. I'm like, why are we going along with this guy? Why are we acting like we like this guy? Like this guy, like the only reason why we even looking at this guy, well, a lot of reason why a lot of y'all was looking at this guy was because he, sat next to Barack Obama for 8 years. So in a sense, this is Joe Biden's third term, and unofficially, it's Obama's third term. They're gonna get me on my politics tonight. Oh yeah, Biden is a racist, man. That's why when people try to call Donald Trump out, I had to call BS. Like, come on, man. They both might be racist, but which racist has written policy to put you down? Which racist has done you the most harm? I'm not worried about a racist, who doesn't have any control over my situation. But as you can see now, with Joe Biden in office, whether he's in control or not, he gets the credit. Even though we know that Obama's behind the scenes pulling the strings. But I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Smash like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I wonder why they cut the live feed on the situation out in Cobb County. Seemed like they would try to keep that one going, especially since he hasn't been taken into custody yet. Let's see.
AOS is everywhere. Cut the check.
So Ice Cube puts out on his Twitter today, and it reads as such: facts. I put out the CW. So yeah, check out my playlist, my Black Politics playlist.
ADOS is everywhere. Cut the check.
So we're going to go over a couple of bills and acts that he had a hand in, just to get a glimpse of, I like to call him Lock 'em Up Joe. And it's going to take a look at a few of the things that he felt would be best to make law. Hold on for me, and we're going to get right into it. So the first bill we're going to look at, we're going to go back to 1984 when he worked with Republican Senator Strom Thurmond in the Reagan administration to craft and pass the Comprehensive Control Act, which enhanced and expanded civil asset forfeiture and also entitled local police departments to a share of captured assets. And some of the negative effects of the 1984 Crime Control Act, it actually led to a 32% rise in federal prisoners over the next 2 years between 1984 to 1986. There was also a doubling of residential and commercial property that was seized. There was a sharp drop also in witnesses being granted protection. And for the numbers, we have real property seizures from 1984 to 1985 doubled from 130 to 260. So it just created an incentive to lock more people up. It created incentives for property grabs when you see the rise of a lot of homes being put up for sale that were seized, that were owned by people that were involved in the drug business, cars, boats, all kinds of property. If you can remember back in the late 80s, you could actually buy some of these properties in auction. So there was a huge financial incentive to tie people into drug conspiracies and things of that nature. Again, so that was 1984 with the Comprehensive Crime Control Act. Moving on to 1986, Joe Biden co-sponsored the Anti-Drug Abuse Act, which created new mandatory minimum sentences for drugs, including the infamous crack versus cocaine sentencing disparity. And basically what that was about was, at that time, what it created was the minimum 5-year federal prison sentence if you distributed a minimum of 5 grams of crack cocaine, as opposed to powder cocaine, where you could distribute up to 500 grams and receive the same 5-year federal prison term. So that was one of the highlights of the bill, and also one of the most detrimental aspects of the bill. And just to give you an idea of the effect of that bill, in 1986, before the enactment of federal mandatory minimum sentences for crack cocaine offenses, the average federal drug sentence for African Americans was 11% higher than whites. 4 years later, the average federal drug sentence for African Americans was 49% higher. So we can actually see how that exacerbated the already glaring disparity in sentences between African Americans and white Americans for the same crimes. And one of the crazy things about it is that when they were actually selling or, trying to win people over with these laws, they actually made a lot of promises to go after serious and major drug traffickers, but the exact opposite proved to be true. And to give that a little context, we can look at the stats, which stated in 2003, whites constituted 7.8%, African Americans constituted more than 80% of the defendants sentenced under the harsh federal crack cocaine laws. And this was despite the fact that more than 66% of crack cocaine users in the United States are white or Hispanic. And not to be left out of the equation were African American women, where their incarceration rates from 1986 to 2006 increased by 800%. And this was largely driven by drug convictions. And this was compared to an increase of 400% for women of all races for that same time period between 1986 to 2006. Another stat for good measure, in the year 2000, there were approximately 790,000 African American men in prisons and jails. That same year, there were around 603,000 African American men that was enrolled in higher education of some sort. And in the 80s, this was a time when crack cocaine was rampant, drugs and crime was a major theme in the city, especially densely populated urban areas. Also, it seems to be that was the major focus of much of the media or propaganda that was used to promote the and I'm back. So yeah, again, thanks for y'all tapping in. This was off the cuff. I'm playing. Heard about the 2 Cobb County deputies being shot. I was like, let me go live and do some research while I'm on live because I didn't know what was going on. Oh yeah, I heard about the IRS agents for sure. It's the shakedown team. So they can squeeze more money out of people's pockets who probably have very little money as it is. I need to apply for a job. 87,000. I need to apply for a job. And be like, nah, nigga, not you. Migo, ¿dónde? Ven aquí. Yeah. They'd rather hire an illegal immigrant who don't speak English and teach him English. Pay him to go to school so he can learn English. That's what Joe Biden is on right now. Joe Biden said immigrants are the future. So did Nancy Pelosi, and I got the video to prove it. They both said it. And Joe Biden said black people better learn how to work with Mexicans or Latinos. He said we better learn how to work with them because they're going to be over us. And they probably already are. Indian Rocks Beach, oh man. Where's Indian Rocks Beach at? Appreciate you for checking in. Yeah, I need to hit a beach, man, before it gets too late. Indian Rocks Beach. And they told the Indians to kick rocks and stole their beach, I'm sure. Okay, that's a nice area down there. Down there near Tampa. St. Pete. Clearwater. Okay. Yeah, I always say if I move anywhere to be further south, I'm in Georgia. from New York City, though. So I'm always interested in getting as far away from winter as possible. I don't fuck with the cold no more. I don't fuck with the cold. I mean, I know how to deal with it. Yeah, it sounds like it's nice down there, Indian Rocks. So what I think is going to happen with Tiffany Haddish and Ari Spears? Are they going down hard and fast, or this too shall pass? Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds like it. I've always wanted to go to Clearwater. It's not too far away from what I'm seeing on the map. Like it might be less than an hour away from Clearwater. A lot of little islands down there. Honeymoon Island State Park, Honeymoon Island Beach. Yeah, I could live in Florida, easy. 20 minutes, okay, even better. Yeah, I could definitely live in Florida, man. I could definitely live in Florida. Take a good tan. But yeah, guys, y'all go ahead and subscribe to the channel, man, and hit that notification bell so y'all know the next time I go live. Yeah, Fort DeSoto. Haven't heard of that either. Oh, okay. Down there off of St. Petersburg. Yeah, and I always heard that was a nice area to live in as well. The St. Petersburg area. I don't want to move too far south down there now, near Miami or Fort Lauderdale. And I want to stay on the Gulf of Mexico side of things. The water's much better in the Gulf, in my opinion. Especially when I go up to the Panhandle. I usually go to Destin, been to Panama City, but I really like Destin. I can spend a lot of time down in Destin on the beach. Word, thanks for tapping in, Intrinsic One. So it's less hurricanes as well. Yeah, man, I can dig it. But shit, if a hurricane come out, I'll pack it up. I spent some time down in Orlando. I like Orlando, but I couldn't live in Orlando. It's too far from the beach. I needed to be close to that water. Absolutely. So you down there in the cut in Indian Rocks. So are you from Indian Rocks? Are you from Florida, or did you migrate there? Because you mentioned Columbus, so I don't know why I assumed that you were in Columbus, or either you were from there. Pardon all the noise from this noisy mic stand. Yeah, that's exactly what I like about Destin. So you're born and raised, okay. So you know the lay of the land. That's what's up. Yeah, Destin, man. Like I said, I'm from New York, where the bar is very low. The beaches in New York are horrible, man. I would never go in the water at a beach in New York. I don't even want to go to a beach in New York. I'd have to be in any beaches in Florida and in the Bahamas where you can actually see through the water, see your feet, you can see fish, and you can see whatever, if anything's coming. Stingray and the whole nine. Like last time I was in Destin, there was a lot of stingray swimming around. I got the fuck out the way. I remember what happened to Steve Irwin fucking around with that stingray. It got his ass. So you said the possibilities are much greater to get hit by the hurricanes. Yeah, no, that's why I said I would keep a backpack when I have to bug out and drive up to Georgia or either drive inland. I've been to Tallahassee a few times. I like hanging out there. Small college town. Then I kept seeing these little fish that looked like little baby sharks. And they was in bunches. I don't know what they were. But I was giving them a wide berth as well. There's too many of them. That's how those piranhas attack. They get you, goddamn. They gang up on you. Said mullets, okay. So I didn't know mullets. I always hear about mullet. Is that like a porgy or something? Like mackerel. Good for salting too, like smoking, salting. Yeah, I love some good salt herring, or salt mackerel. My grandmother would buy salt mackerel or salt herring, and we would put it in our grits. Because I'm from New York, but my people from the South, they're from North Carolina. So yeah, I was raised on fish and grits. I could go for some right now. So yeah, guys, I'm about to get up off this live. Again, this was last minute, but thank you guys for riding with me. And again, I hope y'all subscribe to the channel. And if y'all subscribe, hit that notification bell. So next time I go live, y'all can ride with me. And I'm thinking about having some panels as well, where I bring some of you guys on. If y'all guys willing to come on, and we can chop it up on the topics of the day or whatever the case may be, and get some good discussions going. So we're not on here wasting time. We can get on here and build, edify, plan, and the whole nine. So yeah, if anybody wants, well, I have 4 right now. And you know, if we only get 4 to chime in and we chop it up amongst ourselves, it is what it is. I'll leave it up. And if more people tune in to watch it after it's up, then I count that a good thing, Mike Hawkins. So yeah, now I have 5. And Mike, if you tell 2 or 3 people, if you share the video, maybe we can have 6 or 7. And I really don't go live a lot, so I understand that in the beginning, I will have very low attendance, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because that allows me to get more comfortable with the flow and how I want to organize my lives. I did a live, I think last Thursday or Friday. You guys check that out. Which I was talking about Vlad TV, DJ Vlad and Vlad TV. And what I'm doing with that one is I'm going to chop it up into segments and upload it in smaller segments for people who don't want to watch a 3-hour live. Yeah, you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. So like I say, I've never really been one to go live every day or 2 or 3 times a week all the time. So I'm not really as comfortable going live because it's hard sitting here talking to a camera sometimes and trying to, keep your thoughts on track. So usually when I go live, I'm going to try to have some notes or at least a framework of what I want to discuss and try to go in order like that. Like I said, I popped up on this one and because I saw the Cobb County and I'm right down the road. I'm not far away from Cobb County, so that was close to home. Yeah, when Kevin Samuels started out, he didn't get a lot of views, and he was one that kind of like me went from doing strictly uploads, and then he transitioned into somebody that went live and was very successful at it. So definitely peeping his blueprint. Not saying that I'm Kevin Samuels by any means. The brother was super sharp. Definitely give him his flowers. Wish he was still here with us. So yeah. Yeah, it can be weird, talking to a camera. You can do voiceovers if you don't want to be on camera, if you're uncomfortable being on camera. Most of my videos are voiceovers. You can put a picture up, some video, whatever the case may be. You can put your picture up, and you can just talk about your disgruntled veteran issues. You could probably get a nice little audience, especially from the veteran crowd. I'm sure they might support you. Brand it. That sounds interesting. Disgruntled veteran. I'm not a veteran. Salute you. Salute to you. But yeah, I could see that people would chime in, especially if we're talking about issues that, are near and dear to you guys. Appreciate that, Intrinsic one. Appreciate that. I've always been told that. Thank you. Especially when I was working on the phones. I'll be on the phones and the ladies be giving me the telephone numbers and everything. But yeah, I encourage anybody who said they want to start a YouTube channel to go ahead and start it. And this channel didn't start for the purposes of me, branding and trying to get out my point of view. I started my channel back, just as a channel so I could watch videos. So I had my channel since maybe 2011. And, I uploaded some original content over the years, footage that I've shot, or whatever the case may be. But I never was like, let me make content for YouTube, and just make it a thing. I would just post random videos. If I saw a video that I liked and I wanted to have access to it, I would post it, whatever the case may be. So it was a mix of everything. But then maybe in 2019, I decided I wanted to go ahead and start a YouTube channel where I can actually articulate my thoughts and get my point across and, push the line on issues that are important to me. So, yeah. I was watching a sister named Yvette Carnell, and she would go live twice a week, and she was talking about politics, and it was hitting hard, and I was like, man, I could do this. I could do this. So, yeah, definitely Yvette Carnell was my inspiration. And I have another channel, Streets Gotta Eat. I have that channel, which is dedicated to more entertainment, more hip hop. But this one is dedicated to, a little broader, because there might be some entertainment on here. You might see some sports, but it's news. It's news, politics, social commentary, and, things like that. I have some documentaries on here as well. I did a few documentaries. I did one on the Crips and Bloods, whether the Crips and Bloods put a stop to the civil rights movement. I did one on immigration, the negative impact that it has on the Black community and has had since post-Civil War times. So, I do pieces like that. I got a piece where I highlighted a sister that was, among a group of young Blacks that was attacked in New Jersey. I believe it was maybe 4 of them. 3 of them were killed. She survived. And so, I kind of told her story. More censored, I would say so. Because my views fall on both sides of the spectrum. If you want to label it liberal, conservative, left or right. And I believe that's probably for most people, if we really just look at things from a practical perspective, you're not going to agree with anyone 100% of the time, all the time. It may be, a few things you agree with them on this go around, if you're talking politics. Next time around, you might not be feeling the message, and it may be based on your circumstances. So, I learned to look at, my bottom line, You know, how do things affect my bottom line? And I think that's always a good place to start. You know, and when it comes to the politics, I look at it practically. Politics is, in a nutshell, you know, politics is about the distribution of limited resources. And, you know, how can you acquire your portion, you know, of the resources, you know, in an equitable way. You know, I'm not interested in getting more of my fair share, you know, like I say, politically. But then again, it's not what you deserve, it's what you negotiate. So in politics, you know, there's a lot of different phases, there's a lot of different levels to the game. You know, you can vote based on who you like. You can vote based on, you know, who has a platform that you feel that's going to elevate what you're trying to do out here in the world, you know, be it socially, economically, you know, whatever the issue might be. It might be religious. So, yeah, a lot of us are trained to think a certain way. You know, it took me a long time to, you know, shake loose of the programming that I was, you know, fed and molded by, where I did see things, you know, on a red versus blue type of perspective. You know, I used to vote how my grandmother voted, how my mother voted. They voted Democrat. And, you know, as a group, that's how we're trained to, that's how we're trained to vote. That's how we're programmed to vote. And then I'm reading a book now because it was just peculiar to me. Like, why are we, you know, on a track, you know, the way we are and not considering, you know, platforms from both sides of the aisle? You know, like a lot of people among the community, we've got to the point where we don't even want to hear anything from the conservative side, even though if you listen to some of what they're kicking, you know, it just makes good plain sense. Yeah. So, you know, for years I voted Democrat, even though I started to look back and say, man, I'm voting for people that are not having my best interests at heart all the time, you know, on major issues. So, you know, I just began to break loose. I believe for me, and I know for me, the eye opener was Barack Obama. Strange as that may sound, but it took for a melanated man to make me see the game, to make me understand the game. Oh yeah, Trump was definitely made the villain by the media immediately. I mean, they even though they miss him, they have a love-hate relationship with Trump. Trump is good for views. Trump is good for the ratings, but he was fucking up their politics. Word, Intrinsic One. Salute to you for being a subscriber for a few years. I'm going to make you a moderator. I'm gonna give you a wrench so when we blow up, you can goddamn lay the law down in the chat. Yeah, I'm gonna look you up. But yeah, Obama woke me up. And it wasn't the fact that Obama didn't come in with the cape on and, you know, fix black people. You know, I wasn't looking for him to just come in one fell swoop, you know, undo, you know, politics that have been at play, you know, for decades upon decades. But what I didn't expect was his attitude towards our concerns. Yeah, I was like, well, you know, I know you can't change the world in 4 or 8 years, but if there's things that you want to be pushed, you could speak on them, and you could kind of set the tone. And he just wasn't willing, in my opinion, and if you look back at the record, to really truly offer us any policy that was transformational. I was looking for something transformational, at least a good start. But yeah, he fumbled and bumbled, and in my opinion, he talked down to us. He kind of condescended when it came time to even address us. So yeah, we go with the family, we're raised by our families, you know what I'm saying? We sit around the dinner table, we sit around the TV, we go to the polls with our parents, and we get the message directly and indirectly. We know who they support, and by extension, when we step into the arena, we normally go along with it until eventually, like in my case, you have an epiphany and you begin to break away, and you say, wait a minute, I don't agree with this guy on this. I agree with this guy over here. I'm going to vote for him. Simple and plain. Well, I agree with this guy over here. I'm going to vote for him, and politics is a game. It's a game. You got to know how to play. And most people don't know that, most high-level politicians, most elite politicians, and like I say, it's levels to the game, just like in sports. You got Division 1, Division 2 is levels. In politics, this is the same thing. You have some very elite politicians come from a pedigree that you couldn't understand. Come from a bloodline of politicians and lawyers and, high-powered people who are used to wielding power and who don't mind playing Machiavellian politics. If you ever pick up a book called The Prince by Machiavelli, and Machiavelli, his whole philosophy was the end justifies the means. So, whatever your goal is, however you get it, as long as you get it, by whatever means. And that's the game they play. They should have an award ceremony, some type of award for politicians, because they do some of the best acting. They do the best acting. And they do it goddamn full time, damn near. To the point, in my opinion, where they begin to believe the shit that they're pushing, whether it makes sense or not. Whatever makes sense to their bottom line is what they're going to push to us. And then they're going to play you, and they'll create situations, and, they'll put pressure on you in many ways. Especially the Democrats over the last 12 years. They've been using the pressure from above and pressure from below tactic. There's a great book called Shadow Party by David Horowitz. And this book was written in the early 2000s. He talked about the deep state government that was formed with the assistance, of George Soros. And you guys look this book up. It's called Shadow Party. And I believe his name is David Horowitz. And I just started listening to another one of his books recently. He's conservative. Make no bones about it. He's definitely a conservative author. But if you read this book and you listen to the political tactics that he talked about in the book, and then you look at 2020, the summer of George Floyd, the pressure from above, excuse me, and the pressure from below. And he says what they do is if they want to push a political agenda that's not popular or they haven't had time to grease the wheels for, if they want to ram something, thank you, Mikey One. I appreciate you. Salute you. I need to get some sort of celebration sound if I get a new subscriber, but I appreciate you. But the pressure from above, pressure from below, what they'll do is if they have an agenda they want to push that's not popular or they haven't had time to manufacture our consent or grease the wheels for, then they'll do like they did in the summer of 2020, where they'll have groups to hit the streets. That's the pressure from below. When you see BLM, when you see Antifa, when you saw these guys hitting the streets and co-opting what were, in many cases, peaceful protests by most estimations, it only takes a small handful of agent provocateurs to step into the mix and incite the masses, break a few windows. And, it only takes a little bit of coaxing, especially when tensions is already high. So he talked about the pressure from below. That would be Antifa, BLM, hitting the streets. You seeing them on the news 24/7. Fires burning, people going crazy in the streets over George Floyd, over, a dope fiend who got killed, after running into police after trying to pass a $20 counterfeit bill. And not to say that he deserved to get killed, by no means. But I was like, damn, like we gonna riot over this, but we're not gonna riot for our freedoms. So I knew it was a ruse. And then when you saw the worldwide protests in all these different countries and you seen thousands of people in the streets, thousands upon thousands and thousands of people, I said, this is coordinated. Come on, man. You can't believe you're lying now. I'm like, no, man, no. And then, my background kind of prepared me, for the shit like this, from the shit that I've read over the years, as a young adult. As a young man, I read a book by William Cooper, of course. If you've heard of William Cooper, Behold the Pale Horse. That was one of the first books that kind of opened my eyes to the bullshit. So, conspiracies, silent weapons for silent wars, how the media is used, how education is used, to dumb us down, to have us in a sheep-like state where we're just led to the slaughter willingly. New World Order by Ralph Epperson. I started reading shit like this early, and I've been in places, you know what I'm saying? I've had experiences that, line up with the shit that I've read. I look around every day now and I see this shit unfolded before my eyes. And when I was in sixth grade in 1984, my sixth grade teacher had me to read George Orwell's book, 1984. And I'm still in touch with my sixth grade teacher. And, I've often reached out to her and said, yo, like, you had me read that book in 1984. And here we are, Big Brother is fully in place. And we signed up for Big Brother. We use Big Brother. That's how Big Brother makes us comfortable with being surveilled. They make it a, something fun to do, something to pass the time. So you're walking around, you're riding around in your car, and you're walking through the mall, and you're oblivious to the fact that you're being surveilled 24/7. So yeah, it's like reading, all of the shit that I've read. It's not hard for me to spot the bullshit. A lot of people, might be attuned to different things. They might be in tune with different aspects, different dynamics. You know, some people are good at peeping behind the veil or peeping the bullshit. Like I said, I was raised in New York, so I already got a sixth sense for the bullshit. You know, they come with the bullshit early in New York on the street. And, you know, I came of age, you know, in the late 70s, 80s, 90s, 72 baby. Oh, Mike said he had to go catch some Z's. I feel you. And I hope you subscribe to the channel, Mike, because I need all the numbers I could get, as you could definitely see. But I was listening to a live stream last night by the lead attorney. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the lead attorney, but I do watch his channel from time to time. And he actually described situations where he was ready to quit YouTube because he would bust open his live and get all spiffy, suit and tie and everything, ready to go. And he would have 4 people, 3 people. He said he would look up sometimes and there would be no people. And he said he was thinking about quitting YouTube. Yeah, so did I want to quit? No, I don't think I ever wanted to really quit. I haven't reached that point yet. I did reach some points where I was like, but I felt like YouTube, you know, I felt like it's a game. I felt like it's a challenge. I know my messages are against the grain as far as, you know, YouTube and their leftist policies, liberal policies. So, you know, I figure I'll keep chugging away. And I fought hard to get monetized. So I was like, shit, I fought hard to get my channel monetized. They denied me about 4 times once I got eligible, because you don't automatically get monetized. You have to hit your numbers first. Then you have to reach 1,000 subscribers and you have to get 4,000 watch hours within a 12-month span. So once I hit my numbers, then you have to apply, and they denied me 4 times. I had to keep, you know, eventually I had to go through my channel and delete a lot of videos that I really didn't, like I say, add any production value to, or, you know, I just straight put videos up because I liked that video, whatever it was, piece of a comedy sketch or a speech or whatever the case, I would just throw it up. So had to delete a lot of content. Word, I appreciate that, Intrinsic One. Yeah, I try to talk about, you know, real shit, because it's real in the field, you know, and as a man from a certain group, you know, I look at my group and I say that out of everybody, we have the least time, you know, to be thinking about BS. I believe it is Shannon Lynn. I'm trying to find another source of information, but they're not really, you know, all the live stop. So any updates are probably going to be for these websites. So yeah, I'm looking at the live feed. The live feed is still up. I'm gonna go ahead and put the live feed back up while I'm chopping it up. Yeah, I don't think I'm ready to quit, Mikey. Not on anybody else's terms anyway. Not because somebody makes me discouraged, or they strike some of my videos or whatever the case, because that can make you angry because they constantly limiting my videos. I have to appeal, da da da. But yeah, it looks like they're still out there. What was her name? Get back over here. Shannon Lynn. Thanks for tapping in, Shannon Lynn. Where you tapping in from? Because like I said, this was especially interesting to me because I'm not too far away from Cobb County. Yeah, there's no sound actually coming through, but they just have cameras set up. I guess they're waiting for some updates. Iowa City. Okay. Tapping in from the Midwest. Thanks for tapping into the channel. But yeah, I guess they were going to serve a warrant, and he said he wasn't ready to go. He was going to hold court in the street. Appreciate that, Intrinsic One. Sometimes I think the name might be of detriment. I don't know. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm guessing they probably will throw together a little news conference. Excuse me. They threw one together last night after they caught Ezekiel Kelly up in Memphis. It's probably about 1 or 2 in the morning. By the time they had actually held their press conference. But nobody else is live that I can see. Search for press conference. I'm sure we would show up. So yeah, there is about 50 minutes ago, they said press conference to be delivered after Cobb County deputy shot. His neighbors remain scared.
11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11 Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11 Alive News app to use Near Me.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to
And the only place where you can
See if they come with some new information.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
I don't know if this is just a commercial or if they're going to segue into some more information. So, and I've been looking on my Citizens app, but I haven't seen anything about this at all on my Citizens app, which is crazy to me. Yeah, it looks like it's just another commercial. I wonder what kind of guns he has in there. If he can hold a SWAT at bay, or if they're just. What are you saying, Manuel Rush? They made entry? Is that what you're saying? They made entry into the house? You have an IFO scanner, Manuel Rush? Where are you getting your information? Okay, let's see what's going on.
You just mentioned the Cobb County Sheriff's Office confirming 2 deputies have died tonight in the line of duty. We do know they were serving a warrant at a home on Hampton Glen in that subdivision here off of John Ward Road when something went south and this suspect opened fire. Again, we do know 2 deputies have been killed. A witness said one of those deputies was being worked on in front of her home. He was right.
I would say good evening. I guess it's going into early morning. It is a sad night this evening for the citizens of Cobb County, as well as the Cobb County Sheriff's Office, and for law enforcement in whole. Even more so is a night of heartache for 2 families from the Cobb Sheriff's Office. 2 wives who has lost amazing husbands. I am saddened to report this evening that the Cobb County Sheriff's Office has lost 2 young, bright deputies. They were killed in line of duty this evening while serving a warrant. These 2 deputies serve Cobb County with dignity and honor. Please pause with me for a second as we recognize these two lost deputies. Thank you. Next, let me thank the many law enforcement agencies who responded to our needs this evening. And they've been by our side this whole evening, trying to help us get through this ordeal. And as I read these agencies in no particular order, but again, thank them all for their help this evening. The Cobb County Police Department, the City of Marietta Police Department, the City of Kennesaw Police Department, Austell Police Department, Powder Springs Police Department, the Cobb County School Board Police, Fulton County Sheriff's Office, Paulding County Sheriff's Office, the Cobb County Sheriff's Office, Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, and the Georgia State Patrol, and many others that was on the scene this evening. And behind me this evening, I do have the great pleasure to say I have some Metro Atlanta sheriffs with me this evening. And I want to acknowledge them and thank you for coming out for us this evening. We have Sheriff Melody Maddox from DeKalb County. We have Sheriff Ron Freeman from Forsyth County. We have Sheriff Gary Guttich from Paulding County here as well. And we do also have the new director of GBI here, Mr. Michael Register, here this evening as well as my chief, Rhonda Anderson. The Cobb County Police Department, ladies and gentlemen, will be investigating this horrific incident. What I can tell you at this moment is this, and in plain terms, it's very simple. My two deputies were ambushed this evening and killed. The two suspects now that we believe are the perpetrators of this crime are currently in custody and being held at Cobb County Police Department now for questioning. At this time, that's all I can pretty much tell you about the incident, but I would try to answer some questions if you have them at this time.
What were the warrants being served for?
Failure to appears.
For just one warrant?
Yes. Well, it's failure to appear for theft by deception.
And was the person being served the warrant a suspect in the shooting?
Was the person being served one? It's two suspects. I'm not exactly sure if that was a particular one who was actually the warrant being served on.
The names of the deputies.
We're not releasing those currently until the whole family's been notified. The family has asked us to hold off on releasing that because they want to make complete notification to their entire family.
And the suspect names?
That hasn't been released yet as well. The Cobb County Police Department will be handling that portion of the investigation.
You said the deputies were young. Were they relatively new to your department? Had they been there for a while?
Well, everybody's younger than me because of my age. Let me clarify. That's why I made that statement. But they've both been here substantially over 5 years.
Hey, Sheriff, can you talk a little bit more about the apprehension of the two suspects? I know it was a long standoff. What was that like, getting them into custody tonight?
Well, from my understanding, it was a long standoff with those, but they came out peacefully, those two that was in custody. Nothing that I was been told up to this point led me to believe there was any infractions or altercation with them during that arresting period.
Okay. Did they finally give in peacefully to law enforcement officers?
Yes.
Sheriff, what time did this occur?
I don't have the exact time frame to give you right now. I'm sorry.
Can you provide any details about the description of the shooting in terms of, did they just knock on the door and they were ambushed immediately, or?
Well, from what I can tell you at this point is they was ambushed as they got out of the cars and they was talking with the suspect, and that's when shots were fired.
Sheriff, can we talk a little bit, looking around the room, a big show of support, but you can just kind of feel the heavy hearts. What is going through your mind, and what do you tell the other officers and deputies under you tonight?
That's a good question. You know, what words can you say when you lose your family member? And those words don't come easy, but just speaking straight from the heart, I would just say, just pray for us because we need it. Our hearts are broken here in Cobb County. Our hearts are definitely broken. And it's going to take some prayers to help us get back to where we need to be. And because of the people you see behind me today, I think we'll be able to overcome that, but it's not going to be an easy road. So we have a lot of support, as you can see, on the scene this evening with the several agencies that responded, as well as fellow sheriffs behind me as well. Chief of police was on the scene as well. So we had a tremendous amount of law enforcement support there. The governor even called this evening immediately and asked, what can I do to help you and provide state resources? So we was receiving I like to say help calls from all over the state asking what can they do to help us during this time. So again, it is a very difficult time for us. And I think when one agency loses someone, we all lose someone. And I think every sheriff and every director and chief can attest to that. When this tragedy hurts our community, it hurts their community as well.
Sheriff, these two suspects, are they adults or juveniles?
To be honest with you, I don't have the information. I just know they're in custody now, currently being interviewed by Cobb County Police. I'm not sure the ages of the two suspects.
And did they reside at that address?
That I don't know as well. We're still doing an investigation to determine. But based on we're going to the warrant, we assume one of them did live there at that property.
Do we know, were they related?
I don't have the information currently.
Are these your first line of duty death since you've been sheriff? And how long has it been since the Cobb County Sheriff's Office had a deputy killed in line of duty?
This is my first line of duty death since I've been in office, a little over 18 months. And we haven't had one from a shooting incident. Never had a car accident.
Was it your agency that was involved? Was it the Cobb County Sheriff's Department that was able to negotiate them coming out? Or was it one of the other agencies?
It was my cooperation with the Cobb County Police Department. So they was doing, since they was a lead agency on the investigation and that portion of the incident.
During the standoff, was there anyone else in the house, like any hostages or anything, or is it just those two suspects?
Not to my knowledge, no, ma'am.
Take a couple more questions.
Do you have the exact address?
Ma'am?
Go ahead, it's a quick question.
It was just the address of the home that they were barricaded in.
I don't have it right in front of me. I do have it, but yes, we do have the address where that incident occurred, yes.
Just a quick clarification on the ambush. Were they out getting ready to enter or serve the warrant, or had they already engaged with some suspects and then they were ambushed?
From my understanding, the deputies have made attempt at the home, knocked on the door, rang the doorbell. No one came to the house. As they were going back to the car, a vehicle drove up, which they assumed was a suspect who lived there. And as they got back out of the car, as he got in his car, shots were fired.
So this was someone who wasn't even inside the home? They drove
one of the suspects, yes.
One of the suspects were in a separate vehicle.
Was it just one person who fired the shot?
I'm not sure. I can't answer that completely right now. It's still an investigation.
Do you know if the deputies returned fire at all?
I can't answer that night at the point.
Last question.
Were they able to call for help?
Yes. They put out a help call, signal 63, and that's why we had so many agencies, officers respond to the location. Again, thank y'all for coming out this evening. I know it's late in the morning, but this information needs to be put out. We're working with the families, trying to comfort them during this time frame, as well as comfort my officers and deputies that help out this evening. Again, it is a trying time for us here at Cobb County Sheriff's Office. Please pray for our agency and all deputies and officers across the United States. We need to do something, ladies and gentlemen, about this guns on the street. So whatever we can do to prevent gun violence, as you can see, is affecting us here in Cobb, is affecting everyone across the United States of America. We definitely need to do something regarding that. So thank you for coming out this morning, and we'll have more information as we receive it to report to you at a later date. Thank you.
And if you are just joining us tonight on 11 Alive, we are continuing to follow that breaking news out of Cobb County. 2 sheriff's deputies killed in the line of duty while serving a warrant. We are just getting some brand new information from the sheriff of Cobb County. So we want to walk you through some of the information that we are just getting. And the sheriff describing these 2 deputies as young, bright deputies, saying they had been with the department for 5 years plus, serving with dignity and honor. He did begin with a moment of silence there as well, and listed off some of the agencies that have been supporting them. You saw some of those law enforcement figureheads behind them. There were sheriff's deputies, there were sheriffs, and police chiefs that had traveled to Cobb County to support. But getting back to those deputies, what we're told tonight from the sheriff is that those deputies were serving that warrant. They said that the warrant was for a failure to appear for a theft by deception. And when they were attempting to serve that warrant, it sounds like the sheriff is saying that they went to the house, rang the doorbell, there was no answer, and they were heading back to the car when another vehicle came up. And that is when those deputies were shot. And he described it as an ambush.
Yeah, it was an ambush. And you know what was really striking here before we get to Cody Alcorn, he's out there at the scene, is that it was a failure to appear theft by deception. It doesn't sound like it was a felony. Doesn't sound like it was anything that's serious. And to take the life of two young officers, he says those two officers have been on the agency with the department or with the office for more than 5 years. And the two of them, they lost two wives. They both have two wives, and those two wives have lost their two husbands.
And we want to talk about a little bit the suspects, because they are saying that they are now in custody. They are being questioned by the Cobb County Police Department. The sheriff couldn't say if they lived in that particular home where where that warrant was being served, or if the two people are related. That information will come out later. But again, they are not releasing the names of the deputies who were killed tonight. They say they are working to notify the full family, and they're also not releasing the name of the suspects at this point. But the sheriff's saying that their hearts are broken, in Cobb County, and that they need prayers. Also saying that they received a call from Governor Kemp offering help as well.
Yeah, that's right. Let's get to Cody Alcorn. He's live out there at the scene. And Cody, you have been out there since around 8 o'clock right now. What are you seeing? We're looking at some of the video. We can see the law enforcement. They're really heavy-hearted right now. What are you learning tonight?
What we do know is that this was senseless. What we just learned from the sheriff, all of this started over a failure to appear warrant. People are furious tonight in this community that these two suspects took it upon themselves to ambush these two deputies. And now, as you mentioned, two wives tonight will become widows. And this department has lost two deputies. You heard the sheriff saying it's his first in 18 months since taking office, and really the first officer shot here in the county. They've had others killed in car crashes. It's heartbreaking. What I'm being told from neighbors is that they broke out all of these windows. They brought in a Bearcat. What I'm being told, we have not been able to confirm this, but neighbors tell me that when the mother got out, she was not helping law enforcement with the layout of this large home. That's why they had to bring in so much reinforcement, because they had nothing to work with. They knew these two suspects already ambushed two of their deputies. They knew they'd likely try to do it again, so they weren't taking any chances. And you heard the sheriff just mention they had resources from all over the state of Georgia. Fortunately, tonight, those two suspects taken into custody without any more loss of life, being questioned right now. But I think it all goes back to what the sheriff said. This was over a failure to appear. These individuals, apparently there's one warrant, so it was only for one of these suspects, would have went to jail tonight, served a little time, and gotten out probably by tomorrow on this warrant. Now they're looking at spending the rest of their lives behind bars, or maybe in the death penalty if the DA goes after that in the coming days and weeks. We also talked to the landscaper of this home, who confirmed to us that it was a mother and two grown kids who lived at this home. So it matches what we are hearing as far as these two suspects. It appears they're brothers. I know the sheriff didn't confirm that, but that's coming from the landscaper, who says he's interacted with these two individuals. He said they're nice. They brought him water. They've talked to him. No indication they would become these type of individuals that the sheriff described, who took the lives of his two deputies here. It's heartbreaking for this entire agency. You heard the sheriff mention the governor on the phone with him tonight, law enforcement across the state reaching out as well. And now two women will have to bury their husbands in the coming days. It's just unfathomable here tonight. They woke up just like any other day. These deputies came to do their job, and they were simply serving a warrant. And you saw what the sheriff said. This is what we talked about earlier, Ron and Jennifer, just describing from neighbors. We thought it might have been an ambush because these deputies go through training. They don't just walk up on scenes unprepared. And tonight, all that training, all that preparedness was no match for what they met here on this street, Fenwick Drive, in the Hampton Glen community. So I will tell you, our hearts are with this family, with these deputies. Prayers are with them. It's going to be a very long process to recover from this. Sometimes you see agencies lose one, but tonight this agency lost two deputies in a matter of seconds here in Marietta.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, our thoughts and prayers are with those two wives, with their family members, and those that they're probably reaching out across the country to let them know what happened for those two young officers who lost their lives. Such a tragic, horrible situation. Thanks a lot. We appreciate that, Cody. Also, thank you as well. Hope Ford out there at the scene, too.
And we'll, of course, continue to follow this breaking news story as the days and weeks come ahead and we learn new information. The sheriff saying that they do want to work this and wait and be respectful of the family during this process. So we will, of course, get more details from them in the next few days and hours as well. But we want to thank you so much for being with us for 11 Alive. We will continue to keep you updated on 11alive.com and inside our 11 Alive news app. We'll also have the very latest for you this morning on the 11 Alive Morning News starting at 4:30.
Good night, everyone. Be safe.
Okay, let's try that again. So that's about it, guys. I'm about to log off for the night. They got the guy, so we'll wait for tomorrow for some more information. But appreciate everybody who tuned in. Thanks for rocking with me to the end. Like, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you be alerted next time I go live or drop a video. Again, this is your man on the line, Bill Money, signing off. And I'll see you on the other side. What you saying? Yeah, I think what they're saying is, and I'm about to leave after this, but yeah, it really does sound funny. I was going to talk about it because I guess they knocked on the door, nobody answered. They went back to the car, and that's when they got ambushed. So I believe they caught them while they were sitting in the car. But for me, I'm wondering why they going to serve a warrant for a misdemeanor, for a death by deception. You know, where you basically scam somebody out of their property or their money. Seems like there might have been something else going on with this guy or these guys. You know, they might have been snitches, might have been informants. They have CIs that they work with. They might have been trying to bring them in. You never know. A lot of these CIs run wild out here committing crimes. And a lot of times CIs get away with a lot of bullshit. So I don't know. That's the first thing that I thought when I said they're going to serve a warrant for death by deception. That doesn't make sense. Not to be going on a Thursday night to serve a warrant for such a BS charge. That's a misdemeanor. That's a misdemeanor charge. So my first instinct was that these, you know, they were going to pick up a confidential informant. He might have been out here running wild, getting a little too loosey-goosey, and they're trying to bring him in. And a lot of times these confidential informants don't want to come in. You know, you don't know what else he had going on. So I don't know. Yeah, I got you your wrench, intrinsic one. So yeah. But yeah, guys, I'm about to log off for the night. And next time I go live, I'll give you guys some forewarning and we'll get it popping. Okay? Salute to everybody in the chat. And again, this is your man online, Bill Money, signing off. I'll see you on the other side. Word. Appreciate you, Connect Electric. Bless up. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. It's the best thing you could do for me right now is like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys.